NutriCast.
We've got an astronaut who's going up and they get to pick something that's not on the standard NASA menu, and he wants fruitcake for the holidays. The problem is we're a government agency and fruitcake is preserved with rum, alcohol, and we can't have that because we're a government agency. Can you help us find a fruitcake that uses rum but can be preserved for 2 years because it was going up on a Russian supply rocket at the time? And so I said, challenge accepted. And first I start, check all the fruitcake manufacturers in the US. They all use rum. So I'm like, all right, I got to go global. And I find an abbey of monks in the United Kingdom who for like 400 years in their bakery have been making fruitcake without rum preserved. And they ship over six fruitcakes for free to the NASA Food Lab. They test it, it passes, goes up to space.
Welcome to Think Business with Tyler, sharing our methods and strategies for success. Join in on our conversations with business owners as we highlight their triumphs and detail how they overcame the challenges they faced while continuing to grow and scale their business. It's time to think life, think success, and think business with your host, Tyler Martin.
When Paul Shrater launched his first product company, every factory told him the same thing. You're too small, go away. Most people would have taken that as a sign to quit. Paul didn't. He built his own co-packing facility, fulfillment center, and 3PL, and he turned rejection into a business empire. Today, he's behind product launches for creators, e-commerce brands, and even NASA. Yes, NASA. But the journey, pure grit. We're talking about bootstrapping when no one believed, creating systems so the business runs without you, and knowing when to walk away from bad deals, even if they're backed by celebrity money. If you're grinding through the middle of your business, wondering how to scale without burning out or selling out, this one's for you. Let's get into it. Paul Shrater, welcome to the Think Business with Tyler podcast show. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So where I'd love to start is just learning a little bit about you. What do you do for a living?
Too much. No.
I love that answer.
So entrepreneur and have a bunch of companies now for 20 years. Before that was actually a film and TV producer and had offices on the Sony lot and sold the script for $1 million, but went to the Wharton School, undergrad, class of 95 with a focus on entrepreneurial management. And that side of my brain kicked in the early days of e-commerce and saw that sort of shift happening and launched an e-commerce company, which then led into a contract packaging facility, also seeing a shift, entrepreneurs needing to make smaller runs of food, beauty, supplements, and all that, which led into 3PL doing fulfillment for those brands, and then into others, which led into doing a food service distribution company to help on the sales side, and then doing joint ventures with high-profile celebrities and innovative consumer products brands to help them be their operational partner, and then a TikTok agency now. So all that's still going and sort of all feeds together. So that's the short answer, but there's even other businesses and things I'm involved with that connect to a lot of that too.
I have so many questions. Okay. Before we dive in, what about on a personal level? Do you have any kind of tidbit that maybe people don't know about you that you can share?
I have a pet rabbit that roams the house and sits on the couch and watches TV with me and runs up and down the hallways and all that. So it's a different pet, not a dog or a cat.
That is awesome. What is your rabbit's name? I have to know.
Pepper.
Pepper, okay.
Looks like salt and pepper. So.
Okay. Are we talking like a little tiny rabbit or like, is this a pretty big rabbit?
Say it's about that big.
Okay. Wow. I love
it. Size of a cat, pretty much.
Okay, that's good. You caught me off guard. I always love asking, is there something people maybe not know about you? I love hearing that one. Rabbit's cool. Okay, I want to start on that $1 million script that you sold. Okay, so you sell this $1 million script. It sounded like it was quite a few years ago. So $1 million probably was worth a lot more then than it is now.
25 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. How did that shape? Like, how do you go from selling $1 million script, which sounds like that validates you as a writer at that point, being in that industry, in my mind at least. How do you go from that to wanting to become an entrepreneur? I mean, did something happen after that where it's like, oh, this is just a one hit and I'm done? Or, I mean, just because that's a lot of money. Like that just kind of set the table for your future in my mind.
Yeah, that industry is, you get to the point where it's no longer about who you know because you know the people. It's about having the right thing at the right time in the right place in front of the right person, and you can't predict that. So you're just running around saying, "How about this? How about this? How about this?" and sort of constantly pitching. And it doesn't really have much to do with hard work or creativity or whatever. It's sort of luck at a certain point. So we had this idea as a family business. My parents, sister, and brother-in-law, I couldn't go. They rented a cabin in New Hampshire, and everybody had their favorite barbecue sauce and salad dressing and cereal and everything. And at the end of the week, they said, "We're not going to fly home with half-empty containers of this stuff. We're going to throw it away. Wouldn't it be great if you could buy your favorite brands in miniature size?" And I said, aha, there's this new thing called e-commerce where there's a lot of demand because people are trusting their credit cards online for the first time because for a while they weren't. And there's not yet a lot of supply. So let's carve out a niche of everything miniature and be the Amazon of miniature things. And this is before Amazon really became, the juggernaut of Amazon. And so it was my side hustle. We were on a second floor above a furniture store here in Southern California. And it was me, 4 shelves, a computer, and no employees. It was my side hustle before the term side hustle was even coined. And 3 months later, it took off. And 3 months later, we had a warehouse and 5 employees, and I had shifted careers after 9 years in that industry. So,
does cash flow have you down? Profit not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
A warehouse and 5 employees, and I had shifted careers.
Wow.
After 9 years in that industry. So,
did you use the funds from that script to catapult you into this new e-commerce business? Was that part of this, having the funds to be able to do that, or were you able to self-fund, or how did that work exactly?
It was self-funded actually through my parents.
Wow.
Really, like with small amounts, and then it was just funded from profits. And so all those businesses I mentioned, although the TikTok agency has partners, but all the other ones we own 100% of,
wow.
have grown organically over 20 years.
And it's still a family business?
Uh-huh.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And so kind of take me through this evolution. So you start doing something kind of a side hustle type thing. You see it has legs. It sounds like how your brain has been working over the years is like, how can I serve needs to various parties that are intertwined? I mean, it sounds like that was conscious. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, it's definitely opportunity driven, and opportunity driven as long as it's synergistic with, the sort of ecosystem of the companies. I hate using buzzwords, and also businesses that were capturing something larger, not just a little need, but a broader societal change. So, again, e-commerce where people are trusting putting their credit cards online for the first time, and the contract packaging. I went to every factory to help these brands that assumed we were manufacturing everything, and I said, "Let me see if I can help you." We don't actually make that stuff; we just buy it and resell it. And they all said, "How many millions of pieces do you want?" And I was like, "They just want like 10,000 or 50,000. Can you do that?" And every contract manufacturer and contract packager all over Los Angeles and Orange County said, "Go away." So it's a very non-entrepreneurial, old school, kind of downright angry industry that was really built off of, big money entrepreneurs or, like big companies that could fund, things. So their machinery is designed for large production runs. And so that's where I said, oh, now, when I went to the Wharton School, the entrepreneurial program was on the second floor in the back corner of a building. Now it's a 7-story building, and I think one of the largest in the country. So the idea of even being an entrepreneur, you had to have wealthy parents or something, and all of a sudden with the advent of the internet, anybody could become an entrepreneur theoretically, and have tried. And that means though that there's a lot of people who don't have $20 million to put into a business and do large production runs and already have everything sort of dialed in. You need somebody who can scale you. And that's why I saw that to say, okay, this is a need based on what's happening in entrepreneurship. And really all the other businesses have been based on societal shifts, like even partnering with celebrities and rock stars and athletes and all that who want to be entrepreneurs. That's a fairly new phenomenon. Back then it was, actors wanted to be rock stars wanted to be actors, and now they all want to be entrepreneurs. It's sort of a new, sexy thing. And also they look at, understanding to leverage their 15 minutes of fame, if you will, into something that can be a legacy income stream beyond, their immediate fame. Some people will become famous, for a long, long time, but they still want something that can scale beyond who they are and what they're about. And they're leveraging their ability to deliver eyeballs onto something, basically skipping a few years and millions of dollars in trial and error marketing to come out of the gate with a brand that can be successful. But it still has to be a brand and a product that could stand on its own and be innovative and unique. And that's where we can help bring that innovation to talent and be able to help be their operational partner while they're busy doing what they do. We can help do the heavy lifting of a business.
What does that look like when it's an influencer or someone famous? Do they come to you already with this product that has value, or are you helping them come up with? Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
They come in with a passion for a category, but no idea of how to do something interesting with that category. So it could be food, beauty, apparel, or something else. And they want to do something. They know that's what their audience likes. Sometimes they come in with a crazy idea, and I have to tell them, no, your audience isn't going to buy that from you. That might be your hobby. I had a rap star come in who was like, I want to do BMX helmets. I'm like, that's not what you're about. And that's a hobby for you. And no one's going to buy, that's not a scalable business. And, I can help you, but I won't partner with you on that. And I would lead them down to, what are you known for? What do people know you for? What are you passionate about? And then we dial in on really what it is. And then from the food scientists and chemists and inventors and people like that I work with, I can present them something that's really innovative in that space that they're passionate about.
Yeah. Now you use the word partner. I mean, I can talk with you about it, but I won't partner with you. How do you structure that? Is it maybe if you talk with someone, it's a consulting fee. Does partner mean you take a piece of the action?
Equity. We actually create a brand new LLC entity. They have equity. We have equity. If there's an investor coming in, they get equity. And really the level of the celebrity's equity is kind of equivalent to their ability to deliver eyeballs and sales. I mean, it's obviously if it's their idea or if they're bringing something else to the table, or, the fact that they were the originator of it. But really, when you look at the business value of it, it's their ability to deliver that out of the gate eyeballs that save a brand or a company millions of dollars or, X amount of dollars in that marketing to deliver those eyeballs.
Got it. So it sounds like one, it's highly negotiable because I'm sure
it is, but there's certain industry standards that have been kind of developed and that are expected by talent. And, in most cases, I always like to look at any partnership with a 50-50 mindset, no matter what it is, because you never know who's doing what, when, and what value people may bring at different times. And so if you just think about it, that we're all in it together and that you're not trying to put value judgments on things, it can work out well. Sometimes if the celebrity's like a mega star that may be a little lopsided, or if they're really a smaller star and the idea that I'm bringing outweighs kind of their, they can bring some eyeballs, but not a lot, then it could shift a little bit in the other direction. So but there's a benchmark that if it's sort of your whatever, certain amount of, there's a big range in the middle that's a kind of a 50-50. There's the smaller people that shouldn't get 50 if you're doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And then there's people that should get more than that if it's, Beyonce or something like that.
Right. So have you had people come to you that for whatever reason, maybe they're even somewhat famous, maybe they're like a C level type actor or something, that you'd go, man, I just don't identify with this? Or do you just deal with it in terms of the ratio? It means 75% to you and 25% to them, or is it not worth your time?
No, it's not worth it if we know that our chances of working together and bringing success are going to be extremely difficult.
Okay.
And I'll say that to them. I say, that the level of eyeballs they can bring and this idea of the product, we might make $1 million revenue on it, but that's not worth all of our time to do it. So maybe we try to find other things. Maybe we're just a service provider. Usually that's what will happen. Like, okay, I can go help source it for you. But it's your company, you run it, and I'm just a fee-based service provider.
Got it.
And that's fine. And that, they can try and build it themselves with their own team and their own thing. And we're doing fulfillment or co-packing or distribution or whatever it might be. So we're we're just acting in the way they actually oftentimes came to us to act, and not, necessarily partnering on things.
Yeah.
So that's, but I'm always straight with people as to how I see a situation and if there's ways to change it. And sometimes there could be somebody, like you were saying, who's smaller, but we just have such a clever idea, or they have a clever way of doing something even beyond who they are. Whether it's bringing in celebrity friends of theirs or some other angle they have, that they're connected to something that, really makes the idea also go beyond who they are. So it really depends. Every situation is unique.
So you set up an LLC with someone and you decide you're going to do a product. At first, my first mind is like, oh my gosh, you got like 20 LLCs. They're all spinning off revenue. But then my second thought is, well, these probably have relatively short lifespans. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I feel like the product would come in and then it kind of fizzles out after 3 to 6 months because it's kind of lost its luster. No, not at all.
So I won't get involved in a product with a high profile celebrity unless this has a chance of being $50-100 million brand and,
wow,
getting acquired by one of the big, companies out there 3 years down the road kind of thing. Like that's, in fact, I'm working with some partners now in a venture studio really to bundle all of that concept together with these celebrities, because there's a lot of activity sort of coming my way. And they're also bringing sort of the modern day AI aspect and a lot of the creator economy, like AI way of thinking, to help with marketing and operations and all that. So we're sort of joining forces to really scale that bigger. Because there's a lot, if you listen to the different folks that are out there, I think it was Mark Andreessen from Andreessen Horowitz saying like the future of consumer products brands is going to be driven by creators and celebrities. We're starting to see that. If anybody has kids and you look at where are their eyeballs and where do they consume, content, when we were younger, it was Saturday morning cartoons and it was TV commercials that we learned about products. Now they're watching, TikTok and YouTube and watching those creators, and that's where they're learning about product. And the crazy thing and the revolutionary aspect is those creators can now take brands and embed it as part of the entertainment and not just product placement, which I always am skeptical about how relevant that really is. But in the best example I always use for people is what Mr. Beast did in his chocolate brand Feastables. So he, spent several $1 million building a massive set inside a warehouse of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, chocolate rivers and all that. And it was to do like entertaining comedic bits and you get 100 million, views or whatever. And he makes a fortune on ad revenue, from that. But it's really a commercial for his Feastables chocolate brand underneath it. But the thing is, the consumers now accept that and actually want to help their favorite creator. They want to support them. They will go buy the product to support the entertainment value and enjoyment they're getting from that creator. That is monumentally different in marketing compared to what the interruption marketing is from classic marketing, meaning you're interrupting somebody from their TV show they want to watch. You're interrupting them from the magazine they're reading or the newspaper for an advertisement. Now you're actually not only putting the product as part of the entertainment, but you're getting consumers to want to buy the product to support the entertainment value they're getting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's a shift that people don't understand the power of that yet and what's going to happen in the coming years.
Wow. So this is obviously from a very novice layman level, but when I go on TikTok, I'll watch little clips and stuff, and I'm fascinated when they're selling products. Now it's kind of getting old, but when they first started doing it, I was fascinated by it because I'm like, wow, this is a threat to Amazon is how my brain first thought about it. Because I'm like, people are engaged. The way they're selling them is like, it almost feels like a clip. You're not thinking like you're even watching an ad. And I've bought multiple products now. I'm kind of get sucked right in and I'm like, I want to try that out. I don't really need that, but I'll buy it. And then you compare it to Amazon pricing and they've even built in where it's pretty much equal. It's pretty, only thing I think TikTok fails on right now is the speed that they can get it to you, which I imagine at some point
that's changed.
Solve that.
You now have to have everything landed in the US to sell on TikTok, and it has to arrive to the recipient. I believe it's within 5 business days. So they've really changed that. You can't direct ship to a consumer from China anymore.
So my question is twofold. One, am I just thinking too small? Is TikTok a threat potentially to Amazon? And then two, maybe educate, if you don't mind, educate us, like, because you got into some things just a minute ago. It's just so much bigger. I'd love to just know your thoughts around that.
Yeah, so I think there's two potential threats to Amazon right now, and
Okay.
whether you call them threats, competitors,
Sure.
whatever.
Sure.
One, which I feel like I need to talk to the CEO of the company, is Shopify. I would say 95% of our 3PL clients are on Shopify, powering their e-commerce store. There's an app called Shop that basically takes every single store that's on Shopify and puts their products in the app, searchable and everything. It basically has the same kind of SKUs and the same kind of pricing as Amazon. But nobody knows the Shop app exists. But you didn't even know that.
I didn't. No.
And so you can go right now the App Store, download the Shop app, and it's literally everybody's Shopify store in an Amazon looking environment. But nobody knows it exists. If they could popularize awareness of the Shop app, they could immediately start competing with Amazon because they've got the inventory basically across all of the stores.
Right.
It's all the same people who sell on Amazon. And then certainly TikTok Shop, I believe the numbers are last year they did $9 billion in sales in the United States,
Wow.
1 billion of which was in the first 6 months, 8 billion was in the second 6 months of 2024. So they're on a meteoric rise, to really do that. And a lot of that is driven not only by the shoppable video, but by the advent of the live commerce. And in China, more than 30% of all e-commerce, of any e-commerce, is live selling. And this is like QVC on your cell phone, basically.
Right.
For us, that's how we might look at it. And it's even growing, but they're 5 years ahead of us in sort of the evolution of that. We're just now getting into that. And TikTok is looking to be the pioneer of live selling. And so that aspect is where they can actually start to get more competitive. And what we're doing as an agency within TikTok is and working with a lot of the TikTok executives is in China, if you watch, people are, the way they sell is, one person super aggressively at the camera, this pen is $1.99 and get it now, there's only 10 left. And it's just hype,
Right.
like, energy. The consumers there are used to that though. And so they're accepting of that. And they can scroll through and look at price and attributes and all that. Here in the US, we're going to TikTok for different reasons. We're going there to be entertained or informed or, laugh or watch funny cat videos or whatever. So when somebody comes across and they're hard selling, you're like, I don't want that. So in my entertainment industry background, I'm teaching them, like, you gotta basically think about it like you're producing a show. You have to create entertainment value. You have to make the customer laugh, cry, or be entertained, whatever it is. And so thinking about it that way, how do you do live selling and also be entertaining at the same time? And so as an agency, we're working on several concepts around that with clients of ours of how to do things that can be entertaining while also still selling the product. So people will want to watch and not feel like they're just being sold to.
If you're a business owner feeling stuck in your business, overwhelmed, responsible for everything that happens, and working long hours, Tyler helps his clients develop processes, hire high-performing team members, and better understand their financial metrics and numbers to allow for a more predictable, less hands-on business. To schedule a free, no-pressure consultation, head to thinktyler.com and click the meeting button. Tyler would love to see if he can help you work on your business, not in your business. Schedule a consultation today at thinktyler.com. Think life, think success, think business.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
People will want to watch and not feel like they're just being sold to.
Yeah. Oh, it's genius to me. Like when even in its current state now, and I'm sure it'll get better, but you're sitting there reading, flipping clips, and then some creator is integrating this ad to you that doesn't feel like an ad, and you're 3/4 into it, or at least I am. I'm probably a sucker, but I'm like, man, I got to have this. I want to have it. In fact, I bought one of these blowers. They were like, I must have got fed about 1 million of them. They're these little tiny leaf blowers. They're like a fraction of a size of the normal ones you see, but they're battery operated. And, my wife laughed at me. I'm such an idiot for buying it, but it's the coolest little thing. It's a tiny little thing. But I mean, I got sucked right into it. And the part that I'm most fascinated is that they've been able to, from a price standpoint, really pretty much be the same as Amazon. They obviously have some type of algorithm or something that's allowing them to do that.
Well, they're doing two things. One is they're spending a lot of money out there supporting brands and creators on the platform to really draw an audience and get consumers in the US used to the idea you can buy product on there. So they're not just putting it out there and saying, hey, we got this thing. They're spending the money and getting creative and doing things like that to bring people in. The other thing is they're really supporting the talent and the brands. Like they're working with you and they're creating special they've got people you can work with. They got a whole agency system that is directly connected to corporate, people. They're not agencies that are sort of at arm's length that a lot of the other platforms have. So there's a collaborative environment that they've created with the brands and creators to try and do this that I haven't heard about or seen with a lot of the other platforms. There's exceptions and certain agencies may have certain relationships that they believe they have that kind of thing. But the support from the platform level of the kinds of things they can do. I mean, they can push a button. I mean, it was Nicki Minaj, whatever it was, a month ago. They push a button and 160 million people see her on TikTok. Other platforms aren't going to do that. Like they don't, they're much more hands off, like we're a platform, you guys do your thing. TikTok's getting more involved in trying to, work with people to enhance that experience and to enhance awareness and all that. So, definitely some smart moves on their part.
Yeah, that blows my mind, though, just to think you can turn something on and you have $160 million eyeballs. I mean, when you think about the value of that, just economically, that power, that's a lot. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that they've done a good job with is this idea of they have an embedded affiliate program within their platform. So the way in which a lot of brands have found success on there is they join the affiliate program. You send out samples to affiliates where you can search and see the categories that they are interested in. You can even see their sales numbers and all that. You send out the samples, and then those affiliates create shoppable video content that links basically to your store, and you can buy the product right off their video. And the system automatically pays them their commission and all that. So to have it so easy to be able to get multiple videos out there in multiple, where you can, some of these brands are making millions of dollars a month and have dozens, hundreds, even thousands of other people out there making video content. And then the algorithm sees that and they see the performance and the engagement that consumers have around those videos and the breadth of that, and it lifts all of that up. So the magic of the TikTok algorithm and how it works with commerce is different than other systems that are out there, because this is like a social commerce thing. It's different than just e-commerce that Amazon is.
That's interesting. Okay, I want to switch gears. Two things I'd really love to talk about. One, related to, have you ever wanted to do it? You're in a lot of different things. So have you got into something and you like, man, I want to do over on this. It's just not working. It doesn't make sense. I'm going in the wrong direction. Have you had that happen in all these different verticals and different areas you're going?
Not really. I mean, there's a challenge we had coming out of COVID. There was a confluence of events that really, I don't think has been talked about a lot, that has harmed a lot of small e-commerce businesses. And what happened during COVID is you had brick and mortar companies put a lot of their budget to their e-commerce side of things, which skyrocketed the ad rates for Facebook and Instagram. At the same time, Apple allows you to opt out of your data sharing on apps and things. So now your ability to, get a customer, your CPA or cost per acquisition rate might go from like $10 to get a customer to $40 to get a customer. Wow. Well, if you have a $40 product that you're trying to sell on Facebook, doesn't work anymore. So we saw a lot of clients have financial trouble, which then as a service company also impacts us. And, we had to drop one of our warehouses and all that. But, it's coming around now and there's, I think, a new era or whatever, new energy or new economy, changing within that world. And certain things are now delivering on that. TikTok is delivering, sales to brands. They're figuring out ways to use that, affiliate system and use, influencers. Brands are looking to partner with influencers, whether it's actually as an equity partner or just a branding deal where they're cutting them a check or a check plus commission, or, so they're starting to realize you don't want to have to, run your entire business and get all your customers from one advertising platform. And the moment those metrics change, you're screwed. This allows you to have some other ways that are a little bit more nimble and diversified in order to have your business succeed. So we're seeing a lot of new customers, coming in that have figured some of that out.
Interesting. How do you manage your time in terms of, you have all these different business units, I'll call them, or segments. How do you manage your time? How do you know what to focus on? Like, frankly, for me, like the TikTok stuff and the dealing with influencers, that sounds pretty exciting and sexy. So that's where I'm spending all my time. How do you, at least from a fun standpoint, how do you balance all that? Or what's your strategy in terms of how do you know not to maybe get too involved in something where you're letting something else suffer? Are they self-running at this point, or how do you deal with it?
Really good question. I usually tell people I do something different every 3 minutes. Or at the end of the day, I don't even know what projects or companies I worked on. There were so many different things that happened during the day. So it's just constantly doing those value assessments. Oh, shoot, I got to work on this joint venture agreement. It's critical, or I can wait on that a few days. This other thing is more, critical over here. Or let me see if I can get somebody here to help. I can offload that on. A lot of it in the end is really built on systems. And so for audience that you have, here, it's really focusing on the system you have and who, backups of people. If someone's out, does somebody else back them up, or are you the one backing them up? And the answer I always give people, and they say, when do you know you had sort of, I don't want to say made it or achieved something. I said, it's when I didn't have to be the one backing somebody else up who was out sick or on vacation or whatever, that we built the cross-training systems in order to, so that if someone's out, someone immediately knew to go in. No one has to tell them. They just slide in and take over that spot. So the system you want to have sort of be self-sustaining and not need a manager over them saying, do this, pay attention here, do that. Like the system works like on its own. If you can get that humming, and then across all of our different businesses, have the different people also know how to liaison with each other, and be able to do that seamlessly, then it's easier to kind of do business development and bring in new things and feed that into the system.
Yeah. So it's a great point that you just brought up too. I mean, that for scalability, the systems, no matter almost any business you're in, is really kind of part of the golden ticket of getting to the next level. So I'm glad you shared that. And then my other comment around what you just said, it sounds like you feed off of every 3 minutes doing something different. Is that just kind of how you're wired?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. It's funny. I just had another podcast. This is why I love talking to entrepreneurs. Almost every entrepreneur says the same thing. They just exhibit it maybe in a little different way, but they feed off of that, that it's almost a high, a dopamine, if you will, that just rushing from one thing to another. My question would be, how do you contain that? Like, so a lot of times leaders of a business they'll be visionaries. They'll be thinking broad. They'll have all these ideas, and they'll kind of need someone in the organization that's the one that kind of reins it all in so that we're staying on path. Do you have that balance in your business, or are you the guy that can keep both, which is kind of unusual, but how do you do that so you're staying focused?
It's mostly internal, but having, I'll say, sounding board type people for different things is important. So like my dad works here, full time.
Okay.
And even though he's well beyond retirement age, but he loves it too. And so he's a sounding board to talk about trade-offs and options and really help, sort of vocalize and explore things. And one of the other things I always tell entrepreneurs is you can never understand the wisdom of somebody, 10, 20, whatever years older than you until you've lived that. You just can't perceive it. And so, when I was 20, can't perceive wisdom of somebody who's 30, 40, like you just can't. And then when you get there, you're like, oh, now I understand it, but you don't understand that next generation and what they look at, what's important, and how, and so there's always wisdom to be gained from mentor type people who can help you. And I have a college friend of mine I go to for when it's things about deal structuring and equity thing, and he's a good mindset person for that, for me to bounce ideas off of. So it's definitely not all, internal, but so there are, people to go to for being able to kind of work through certain things like that, to kind of have your own advisory team, if you will.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a good network, which helps a lot of people that you can bounce off of ideas off of. Yeah, that's awesome. In terms of where I was going to take the next question too, in terms of just your own growth, your personal growth along the years, has there ever been a resource, a coach, a book, anything that and maybe it's your family or just your network, but has anything really stood out that's kind of helped you in terms of your own journey and your own growing?
No, I'm not somebody who gets a lot out of watching other people. And I mean, I like Gary Vaynerchuk. I, got into his content, probably a couple of years ago, I always forget COVID is this black hole.
I know.
It's probably been more like 5 years because I find a lot of his stuff is tactical thinking and is, on target every time. But it's more like validation of like, oh yeah, I agree. I think that too. It's not like I'm learning necessarily anything. Sometimes it can bring ideas to the forefront or get them more conscious, even though they may be ideas or instincts you already have. But by hearing somebody else also talk about it, it's helpful. But I don't don't read a lot of other stuff. I'm busy doing this stuff. I'm more of an operator in that sense. The one thing that I always try and look at in any circumstance, whether it's personally or business or whatever, is always putting myself in the shoes of the other person. And what are they looking for in an interaction or a situation? Because all too often you encounter people in life, again, whether it's personally or business, whatever, where they're looking at them, outwards and themselves in that sense. And they're not taking into account the other person's perspective, which is oftentimes not the same as your own, whether it's a different cultural perspective or even, we have employees who don't want to be promoted. They don't want the stress. They enjoy that. And that's mind blowing to me. But it's because work isn't something where they're looking to achieve. They've got other things there that are important to them in life outside of it that are more important to them. And this is a thing that they treat in a different way than the way I may treat it. But understanding that and then knowing how to adapt to that and how to relate to somebody like that is important. And so I think, again, as a person and also as an entrepreneur, that ability, like now I'm thinking, what can I be talking to you about that can add value to your listeners? And what can I talk about that's tactical that they can take home? That's not just me telling stories or whatever. Like, so I'm digging as we're constantly talking. My brain's digging to figure out what can I talk about that can be helpful. So that, or how can I be engaging, and how can people not sit there and be bored?
Right,
and,
right.
So it's figuring out how can you not just how you can add value, but what value does the other person need, and what are they looking to get in any interaction?
Yeah.
So that, to me, if people can be introspective and work on themselves or whatever, and understand if that's something I think it's helpful in life in general.
Yeah. All I can think of as you're saying that, I don't know if it's Zig Ziglar or it's the book. He's an old guru, self-help type guru, or it might be the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But there's a saying, I think it's Zig Ziglar, where, and I'm going to mess up the saying, but it's if you're willing to help people get what they want, you can get anything you want in life, or something like that. This saying, and all I can think is when you said it, because you're probably saying, well, it kind of validates what I already know, because that's basically what you're doing, is like you're trying to connect with people to find out what their need is, what they want. You're giving them that, and then not because you want it, but probably the byproduct of that is you get what you want, or you get more out of life because of what you're helping them achieve, is how that saying works. And it sounds kind of like what you're saying to me just a minute ago. It's powerful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you got it. Yeah.
Really good stuff, man. I love that. Okay, I'm going to wrap up here. I'm going to share 3 websites, which of course I'll put in the show notes at thinktyler.com. First one is your personal website, paulshrater.com. And you spell Shrater, Shrater, ter.com. And then your two business ones, if anyone out there has e-commerce businesses, there might be something here that you'd want to check out. minimusfulfillment.biz and minimusproducts.biz are your two business websites. How did you get the name Minimus, by the way?
So because we did everything miniature, travel sizes, and single serving sizes, minimus is the Latin word for small.
Yeah, de minimis in accounting or tax, it just means it's not that material. Okay, cool. That makes a lot of sense. I like that. Minimusfulfillment.biz and minimusproducts.biz. I'll put this in the Think Tyler show notes. Paul, did I leave anything out? Is there anything you want to close on before we wrap up?
If we got time, you wanted to know how I ship fruitcake into space.
Oh my gosh, that's a huge one. That should be at the top of the show. Thanks for reminding me. Can we talk about that? So yeah, how do you get fruitcake into space, or why do you get fruitcake into space?
So it's probably about 18 years ago, our customer service person came to me and said, we've got this customer who's been buying on our e-commerce website, and we're out of one of the products. It was little packets of Sous Bee brand honey. And we tried to do a substitute of another brand of honey packets. And they said, no, because this is going up in the space shuttle to the space station, and it's NASA. And they've already tested it in the food lab. And I was like, let me get on the phone. And I said, and I looked at they've been buying from our e-commerce website for a while. And I said, let me get you to our wholesale department. You got someone to talk to. You don't have to buy online. You get better pricing and all that too. And I called up Sous Bee Honey, and they're like, "Well, FedEx overnight you a case, right to the food lab." And so we got that taken care of, and then just started to get to know the food lab people at NASA. And we've been shipping, for 18 years, where all the condiment packets, and we've even shipped shelf-stable cheese and hummus and other things they've ordered from us. But she called me up one day and said, we've got a challenge. We've got an astronaut who's going up, and they get to pick something that's not on the standard NASA menu, and he wants fruitcake for the holidays. The problem is we're a government agency, and fruitcake is preserved with rum, alcohol, and we can't have that because we're a government agency. Can you help us find a fruitcake that uses rum but can be preserved for 2 years, because it was going up on a Russian supply rocket at the time? We probably don't do that now. And so I said, challenge accepted. And I called, first I start, check all the fruitcake manufacturers in the US. They all use rum. So then I'm like, all right, I got to go global. And I find an abbey of monks in the United Kingdom who for like 400 years in their bakery have been making fruitcake without rum, preserved. And they ship over six fruitcakes for free to the NASA Food Lab. They test it. It passes, goes up to space. Astronaut loves it, emails the monks from the space station thanking them. Monks get all excited, and I get them permission with the NASA PR office to publicize the relationship. And then 2 years later, the astronaut goes up again and wants his fruitcake. And now the monks charge me $65 a fruitcake. But now I did it twice. So
that is awesome. That's a great story. It's funny. You would think, I know fruitcake generally has rum in it, but you'd think there'd be more than just one, monk far away doing that, because I'm sure there's people that don't want alcohol in their fruitcake. You would think, at least. Anyway,
it's a good story of the kind of approach that we try to take with our business, which is figure it out. There's always a way to do something. So before you're just saying, nah, we can't do that, you just say, all right, let me see what we can figure out. Let me see if we can make this happen.
Yeah.
And that's how you get innovation too, is like, let's figure out, let's solve the problem.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
And that's how you get innovation too, is like, let's figure out, let's solve the problem.
Yeah. In all honesty, true. That was quite an investment on your part, because, one, you had 6 sent over to them to test out, and you had to take the time to find someone. And to your point, a lot of times businesses say, oh, we don't do that, or oh, we don't have, and you lose kind of a good opportunity. I'm sure there's some relationships you got out of it, not to mention just the PR of it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The PR of it is just like phenomenal, because I was trying to figure out in my own head, like, why would you even have fruitcake in space? There must be something I'm missing here, but now it all makes sense. And
it's a small customer because there's not a lot of astronauts in space, so it's not a lot of dollar value, but it's, and something you also want to do because it's part of something that's really important. That's why I was in the movie business. It's something that a lot of people see, and you get to be close to the end product. that affects people. And so to do something that's cutting edge like space, sign me up.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, hey, thanks for reminding me too, because if you didn't remind me, I would have been mad at myself for not having this last part of the conversation. So I appreciate that. Well, hey, I'm glad to hear everything you shared me. I'm glad to hear it sounds like you're doing really well. You got a lot of different, it sounds like the TikTok thing that you're getting into, as well as with the influencers and the celebrities. That sounds like a really kind of fascinating segment of your business. Sounds kind of like the sexy part of your business. The meat and potatoes part of it, obviously, is very important, but obviously the stars and the TikTok is cool. So thanks for sharing your wisdom. Can't thank you enough for just being here and taking your time to talk with us.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Paul. Have a good one, okay?
You too.
Wow, that was Paul Shrater. I really enjoyed this one. It's proof that being underestimated can be your biggest advantage. And my big takeaway on this, you don't need millions to grow. You need a system that works, a product people want, and the guts to build your own lane when no one opens the door. These are the stories we need more of, not overnight wins, not shiny exits, just real entrepreneurs doing real work. Hey, if this episode hit home, send it to a business owner who's in the thick of it right now. And if you're enjoying the show, do me a favor, leave a quick review or rating wherever you're listening. It helps more business owners find this kind of real talk. Think Business with Tyler drops every Monday. Hit follow, and let's keep growing through the grind. Thanks.